This meeting will be divided in 3 parts. In the first one, the director will tell you about our center and we will illustrate all the possibilities to study in the master. And then we will have a short break following by other presentations illustrating other opportunities for education at CIMeC, the Sisa program, the IIT center, which is next by, where there are chances to perform research during a master, and also the Ph.D. school. So without further waiting, I give the floor to the director of CIMeC, Carlo Miniusi, who will present you our center.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. So as Manuela just said, my task will be to introduce CIMeC to you. So CIMeC is in the area of the research. So the aim is to study the brain architecture through the analysis of functional, structural, and dynamic characteristics of the brain in both types of subjects, normal and pathological. And also clearly as university, we got an educational aim, and in this case is to train the next generation of interdisciplinary researcher in the mind-brain sciences. What are the main strengths of CIMeC? In this slide, you can see 4 points that were actually underlined by a group of reviewers that recently reviewed the activity of CIMeC. And these main strengths are the fact that at CIMeC, we go in an interdisciplinary approach. So we do research in human neuroscience with techniques that can be defined the state-of-art activity in the neuroscience field, techniques like magnetic resonance imaging, magnetoencephalography, high-density EEG, and another good number of techniques, as well as computational neuroscience. It's a center at international level because many of the PI that are actually working at CIMeC come from different countries, different universities, and this brings a lot of dynamic activity within the center. CIMeC is also a translational center because we do have a facility at CIMeC that's actually trying to use our knowledge to translate this knowledge to direct application in patients. And also is, as I said before, is a training organization. And in this case, the reviewer underlined the importance of junior researcher that will actually spread around in other laboratories of other countries. And therefore, they will characterize the way the future of neuroscience research will be conducted. So, as I said, CIMeC is an interdisciplinary research center, and as you can see from this slide, at CIMeC, many PIs are from different departments. We include the Department of Psychology and Cognitive Science, the Department of Information Engineering and Computer Science, the Cellular Computational and Integrative Biology Department, the Physics Department, the Mathematics Department, and also the School of Medicine. A third of the principal investigators at CIMeC are actually coming from other countries, but also the students, PhD students, master students, and postdocs are actually coming from many different countries. And as you can see here, is a non-exhaustive list of the different proveniences. What about the structure of CIMeC? So CIMeC has two main aspects. One is the educational one, and here you can see all the degrees that are offered directly or indirectly by CIMeC. And while you can see here the research part. So at CIMeC, the research is carried on mainly on 5 laboratories or facilities that are listed here. And I will go through these laboratories in a couple of minutes. But we also do research in collaboration with other centers. More specifically, we collaborate with some local center, Foundation Bruno Keller Rockefeller Foundation, Edmund Mack Foundation, Civic Museum here in Rovereto, and Neurophysics Lab from the Department of Physics. But we do also collaborate. We have a close collaboration with the Center for Neuroscience and Cognitive System from the Italian Institute of Technology that will actually be introduced later on by the colleague Yurilli. So what about education? I go very quickly here because all my colleagues will be exhaustive on this. So substantially, we are running two main courses. One is a master course in cognitive science, and the other one is a PhD course that will be introduced later. But we also contribute to other master course in data science, in artificial intelligence, and to the master degree in medical school. What about research activity? At the present, at CIMeC, there are 34 research groups. I invite you to have a look to our webpage. More specifically, you can scan this QR code that will direct you to the webpage where all these groups are listed, and therefore you can check if you are interested in one subject or the other. And the activity of this research group is to focus on the cognitive processes and their neurocorrelate from different prospects. These are the main area of research of CIMeC. So they are just listed in alphabetical order and with a broad inclusion idea. So action, aging, animal cognition, brain plasticity, computational modeling, language and conceptualization, neurocognitive rehabilitation, neuroimaging, neurostimulation, perception and attention, reasoning, and decision-making. Again, if you want more detail, use this QR code to be directed to the web page. So what about these laboratories that I mentioned to you before? There are 5 laboratories. One, I will go in more detail in a minute, but substantially one laboratory is the Neuroimaging Lab that's located in Mattarello. It's close to Trento. Then in the main building of CIMeC, Palazzo Fedigotti, we do have 2 laboratories. One is the experimental psychology, and the other one is language, interaction, and computation. Then we have what we call Center for Neurocognitive Rehabilitation that's located to this building that's called Trade Center. And then we have the Animal Cognition Neuroscience Laboratory at Manifattura Rovereto. So just to give you an idea where these labs are located, in this rendering, you can see the functional neuroimaging laboratories at Mattarello. In this slide with the red dot, you see the location of these labs within Trento, and the green dot is where the main building of CIMeC is located here in Rovereto. And the main activity of this lab is focus on what we can define neuroimaging approaches. So we do have a magnetic resonance imaging, we do have magnetic encephalography, and all other methods like brain stimulation, or we can even combine this method to do multi-methodological approaches. Then, as I said, there is the experimental psychology labs that comprise different laboratories, EEG lab, kinematic lab, multisensory, psychophysics lab, baby lab, and eye movement lab. As you can see, there is just one hat. Under this hat, there are more specific laboratories that go specific instrumentation to evaluate different aspects of activity of our brain, of our behavior. Then we got the language interaction and computational lab, or CLIC. In this case, the goal of this lab is to study language, but not only, and its interaction with other aspects of cognition via theoretical and computational modeling. Then the Center for Cognitive Rehabilitation in green, again, you can see the location of Palazzo Fedigotti in Rovereto. And this Center for Neurocognitive Rehabilitation is located very close to the train station and is 10 minutes from the main building, 10 minutes walk. The activity of this, it's called chairing. The chairing is mainly to do a clinical service in collaboration with a local hospital, the Azienda Provinciale per i Servizi Sanitari. And so we do evaluate patients, and also we do rehabilitate those patients that got neurological disorders that are involving cognitive deficits. But together with this clinical activity, we obviously we also do research, and we also train personnel in this area of research. So the main idea is to set new tools to evaluate and then rehabilitate neurological patients. Then we got the Animal Cognition Neuroscience Laboratory. Again, the green dot is representing the main building. In green, you can see where the ACN Animal Cognition Neuroscience Laboratory is located. That is in a compendium that's called Manifattura. At the ACN, the main goal is to study the neural basis of cognitive process in a comparative and perspective view. Together with all the colleagues, we also organize workshops, seminars, events, and some schools. You can use this QR code to be redirected to a web page where you can see a full list of these events. And here you can just see a very small indication of what the main events that we organize are run every year or eventually every 2 years. Obviously, for COVID reasons, in the last 2 years, those only few of these international congress events, workshop were organized, but we hope that in future we will be able to run again all this activity. What I want to say here is, if you decide then to sign yourself to the master degree or eventually to the PhD at CIMeC, you will also have the opportunity to take part to these international events, but also to meet, discuss, or have the opportunity listen talks from international scientists from other universities. So what about the future? As you might know, this century is the century of neuroscience, or I like also to call it the biology of the mind. In this respect, CIMeC is focused to keep very high its research activity, following some good principles. So the idea is to try to keep the quality of research very high, underlying aspect related to reliability, rigor, and replicability. Also, to be fair in terms of optimization of what we do in terms of cost for the society, following what are defined as the principle of open science. And also, we are interested in keeping our environment clean, respecting the right of people and animals without harming the environment. Another relevant aspect in relation to CIMeC in the future is the location of all these facilities, all these laboratories that I've introduced to you. In this slide, you can see the red dots, the Mattarello, Palazzo Fedigotti, Palazzo Istruzione, Palazzo Trade Center, and Manifattura. They're actually located in different parts of Rovereto and Trento. In the future, all these different activity will be focused only in one point. That will be in Manifattura, in the west area of Rovereto. Here you can see an aerial picture of Manifattura, and this part on the right-hand side is where CIMeC will be located. And this is a picture taken 3 days ago. As you can see, there are construction ongoing in that area. And so I hope as soon as possible, but let's say next year, we will move in this new environment. In this rendering, you got a picture of this new environment where there will be the CIMeC campus with all the activity. And near the CIMeC campus, you will have other offices or activities related to innovation center, for example, for renewable energies, smart building, sport technology, and etc. One last point, the future of CIMeC. If you decide to sign up for this master course or PhD course, obviously you will be the future of CIMeC, and you will spread what you will learn here around the world. And so thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Carlo, for this wonderful presentation. If I wasn't already working here, you were convincing me to actually go there. Looks like a wonderful place, okay. And I really can confirm that this is absolutely the case. So I think that at this point, I will carry on, take the stage, share my presentation to introduce you with the master itself. So I am the coordinator of this master, and what I'm going to do is to illustrate in general the master, his structure, and some practical information for you if you want to enroll in it, or at least on your application. And then I will touch upon one of the 3 tracks, and I will tell you about the new reorganization of this master, and involve also other colleagues that are coordinating the different tracks that constitute the master. So if you are here today, it's probably because you have been wondering and you wanted to hear from us some answer to the question of why you should apply to this master. And there are several answers, of course. The first one is trivial, because it's a great place. And I deeply believe in what I say. You will be able to discover it by yourself. But really, the important answer to the questions are others and more developed. First of all, our center has been named as and ranked at the top ranking of research center in cognitive and brain science in Italy. We have been awarded the Department of Excellence label recently, and we are very proud of it. Second, if you come to this master, you will have an unparalleled chance to study in Italy, in this wonderful country, but not in a fully Italian environment, or rather in a very much international environment. As you've seen, many of CIMeC PIs and those, therefore, teachers of the master are not necessarily Italian, and as well as PhD students and master students. Indeed, from this year, we have enlarged the number of applications that we accept. There are 80 positions, contrary to last year, in which we have had only 50 positions. And now we ensure that 30 of these 80 positions will go to non-European applicants. The 51s are from European applicants that can be either Italian or from other European countries. Finally, take a look at this wonderful picture that I took last year, unfortunately. This year, we didn't have the chance to have that much snow, but we were waiting for it. And it's just 1 hour driving from Rovereto, where you will be studying. So here, by 1 hour or 2 hours driving, you are in wonderful towns like Verona, Venice, Bolzano, and so on. So it really helps working in an environment that is not only culturally stimulating, but also beautiful in terms of its nature. We're also very proud to share with you the excitement that we have due to the fact that during the last 4 or 5 years, we really saw an massive increase in the number of applications that we received. Starting from about 80 or 90 up to last year, we received 240 applications. So this means that we are able to select really the most brilliant students, and I'm sure you are among them. And this makes the master course top level in terms of what we can do with you guys when we teach and when we do research together. Also to demonstrate the international aspect of this master, here we plotted the nationality of the enrolled student that varies, of course, during the years due to different reasons, but that we managed to keep balanced between one-to-one between Italian and non-Italian students. In this master, our main goal is to prepare students to approach a research-oriented path. Indeed, most of our students, after finishing the master, embark into further research situations, such as most of the time Ph.D. programs. And as you can see here, a very little list, well, there is a long list, but it's not exhaustive, of the many Ph.D. schools that welcomed some of our students in Italy, Spain, UK, Netherlands, Germany. Outside Italy, not only the US and Canada, but some students go to do PhD in Australia, China, Turkey, maybe their country of origin where they want to go back to, and that they manage to get accepted to PhD schools. But also, research-oriented paths are not restricted to academic pathways. We have a master student that work in the neuromarketing area, that work for neuromodulation, companies that work in neuromodulation for cognitive rehabilitation. Somebody went to work at Google, Spotify, entering the editorial team of scientific journals. So there is a lot to think about your future when you start building your future by undertaking a master course, and in particular this master. What I think is really exceptional, having also traveled a lot around the world about this master, is that your teachers are not going to be just regular, academics that open up work books and texts that have been written by others, but they are the ones that are doing the history of cognitive neuroscience and research in cognitive science. So while in the morning they are in the laboratory doing research on perception, attention, action, or different aspects of the brain and cognition, in the afternoon they will come to class and tell you about their most recent discoveries. Indeed, most of the teachers that teach in the master are really young researchers and very active into research. I think that myself, I am among one of the oldest ones, so this is the idea. And of course, the arrow does not necessarily go from research to teaching, but also backward. In that, in this master, we put a lot of emphasis on research-based learning. While during the first year, you will mainly follow frontal, but also interactive lectures that give you the basic theoretical knowledge in cognitive and brain science, during the second year, you will be asked to attend a few advanced courses, but to mostly concentrate on gathering hands-on experience in research and in joining a research group and in performing research together with them. Indeed, about 60% of our program is course-based with compulsory courses and elective courses, but the other 40% is research-based. Indeed, in the second year, you will perform an internship that gives you 15 credits and a thesis that gives you 30 credits. So you're supposed to spend a lot of time in the different labs, the one that you choose, of course, that you tailor with your education and according to your interest, so that when you are graduating here, you will be ready to start performing research your own during a PhD or so. As Carlo Mignusi told you, there are very many research groups at CIMeC, about actually a bit more than 30 principal investigators, which gives you an excellent ratio between student and PIs. There are a broad range of areas that are covered. We will touch upon them later on. And there are many PhD and postdocs, not necessarily Italian, all English speaking, because of course this center is mainly based on English language speaking. And of course, it's interdisciplinary. What we do in research and what we teach you during the master are things that come from different areas within the cognitive science. We go from teaching you about microbiology to whole brain system, from issues related to animal behavior to issues related to human conceptual representation and reasoning, for example. We go from teaching you about computational models of language and cognition and back to the brain and behavior. And the methods that you will be able to learn by the courses and by your internship and thesis span a broad range, from calcium imaging to magnetoencephalography, from eye tracking to functional magnetic resonance imaging. The great change and big news that we're very proud to be able to offer you this year is the fact that, contrary to last year, this year, the master is organized in 3 tracks. The first one is cognitive neuroscience, and the person that is coordinating it, it's myself. The other is computation and theoretical modeling of language and cognition, coordinated by Raffaella Bernardi, who will later tell you about this track. And the third one is fundamental behavioral neuroscience that will be introduced to you by Uwe Meyer, who is coordinating this track. These 3 tracks coexist within the same program. I can't manage to go ahead with my slides. Yes. And they are all unified by the kinds of interests that all the 3 tracks share, which is the aim to understand and teach you the current knowledge on the mind and its biological substrate, the brain, from, of course, a multidisciplinary perspective. This goal is the goal of the researchers that teach to each of the 3 tracks, but they approach this goal from different angles. For example, the cognitive neuroscience track approach the question of the mind and its biological substrate from a system-level neuroscience perspective, mainly using neuroimaging methods. The angle that is taken by the computational and theoretical modeling of language and cognition is that of learning how to build and evaluate computational and theoretical model of the mind, and therefore have an angle towards modeling. The fundamental behavioral neuroscience is mainly interested in unveiling the cellular, molecular, and also genetical basis of cognition, and therefore, by definition, uses animal models to study these aspects. But of course, the 3 tracks are different from each other, but they also share many commonalities. Indeed, many courses are shared among the tracks, and both from a research point of view and from a teaching point of view, they are highly complementary, and there is a lot of co-contamination across them. For example, if you enroll in the cognitive neuroscience track, you will be able to talk and discuss and also take some courses that are offered to students of the computational and theoretical model, and the other way around. The same goes for the other 3 tracks, such that together we will finally, hopefully, convey and make you integrate an approach that is really broad range onto the mind and the brain. More concrete information about what it means to enroll in a master at University of Trento. University of Trento is very generous. There are several scholarship and subsidized housing that are available for non-EU students living abroad. The top applicants receive a free exemption and scholarship and housing costs that are reduced. And also EU students can profit from total exemptions of the fees and help with the housing thanks to the Opera Universitaria. All this you will learn later on with our administrative people that will answer the questions if you have in this respect. Application deadlines, as you know, the call has been open since 15th of December and it will close the 4th of March. This is the first and main call that is open to everybody. In theory, there could be a second call, but only if there are some remaining ungiven positions that basically in the last 5 years has never happened. And also this second call is only open to European citizens or non-European citizens that are permanently resident in Italy. But don't rely on these deadlines. Stick in your mind, the 4th of March is the last day in which you can apply. How to prepare a good application? You have to report your grades, report well your CV. The reference letter is optional, but you are welcome to upload one should you have one. Highlight your relevant skills and experience, include and highlight any research experience that you have gathered during the undergraduate course, include any extra education that you have undertaken, also Coursera or other kinds of courses, especially in this pandemic age, it is possible. And then you have to write a statement of purpose. Write it carefully, not too long, sharp to the point, and aim to stand out. Be specific about your interest in this area. Explain why you want to choose this master and why you want to choose this particular track. So now I'm done with the general introduction of the master. I'm sure you have many, many questions, but as I said later on, hopefully we will be able to answer. And I'm going to more specifically tell you about the cognitive neuroscience track, illustrating what are the courses and its organization. As you probably know, because you are here, you already know what cognitive neuroscience is, and the name of this track is really explicit in this sense. Cognitive neuroscience is the discipline that emerges at the intersection between psychology, neurology, biology, but also physics and mathematics to some extent, because the main interest is to understand human cognitive skills from perception to action to language, and to relate this to its neurobiological substrate, which is the brain. Mainly, we teach students to use functional imaging techniques, but not only. You will see that during this master, you can really tailor your study in a way that is personalized and specific to your own interests. The core of the degree for the cognitive neuroscience track consists in several compulsory courses that we require you to follow, centered on several courses, 3, that pertain to giving you the general notions of cognitive psychology and cognitive neuroscience. Then we also offer you a course in fundamental neurobiology, because you don't only want to know the brain in general, but more important notion related to neurons and neuron communication. Also, we start introducing you with brain imaging. We offer you a course in neurolinguistics. Of course, language is one of the cognitive functions that define us as humans. So we believe that it is important to give a particular emphasis on language, even though there are several courses that do not touch upon language. And also, very importantly, we offer you computer programming and research design and analysis courses that are very important for you to, when you are done with this master, you are going to be able to start your own research program. You will be able to program your experiment. You will be able to know what is the logic behind neuroscientific research, and what are the tools that you could use to start analyzing and treating your data. On top of these, that are compulsory courses, there will be courses that we have selected and pre-selected for you, among which you have to choose 2 that pertain different areas that I have highlighted here in dark color. Clinical neurology and neuropsychology, that we think are also important building blocks for your formation. Then we offer courses that touch upon brain imaging, brain connectivity, and hands-on functional imaging methods. Here you will be able to learn how to treat functional imaging data by uploading them and analyzing by yourself. Also, we offer a course in scientific communication, which is very important, a very important aspect that any scientist needs to learn and to become expert in. And also cognitive neuroscience of infant development. Those are the ones of which we ask you to choose 2 courses, and then another couple of courses or more, depending on the number of credits, You can choose among either the ones that I have listed here, or you have to know that those free choice courses, you can choose among the ones that are offered to the other tracks, and as a matter of fact, among the ones that are offered anywhere within the University of Trento. Of course, they have to make sense in what you're studying, which is cognitive science. So I think that for the moment, I have given you a very quick, I am sorry if I was too quick, but an overview of the master course and the cognitive neuroscience track. And the last thing that I want to underline is that you as a cognitive neuroscience student will learn from teachers that are psychologists, cognitive neuroscience, neurologists, biologists, and physicists. So they will bring their knowledge in these different fields to help you building your knowledge in cognitive neuroscience. And our goal is that by the end of these studies, you will gain an excellent knowledge of the behavioral, neuroanatomical, and physiological basic functions, cognitive function in healthy and neuropsychologically impaired humans, that you have an excellent knowledge of up-to-date behavior and neuroimaging methods, and have also acquired hands-on skill in data recording and analysis. And also we want to help you developing critical thinking and scientific communication skills to become able to be the next generation of researchers, therefore to conceive originally and scientifically sound experiments. So I really hope to see you as our next student, see you later in Gather Town, but I give the floor to Raffaella Bernardi, who will now tell you more about the second track, computational and theoretical modeling of language and cognition.
Hi, hello everybody. I will present the CLC track. And let me start by sharing something we are really proud of. The LCT, the CLC is part of the European Master Program in LCT. Why we are so proud of this fact? Well, because this program is a joint program offered by a consortium of universities which are very well established and renowned in the field, and CIMeC with the University of Trento with CIMeC is part of this important consortium, which has been offered this joint program since 2004 and has been recognized since then as a program of excellence in the field in Europe. And as such, it has received and renewed for several times now the Erasmus Mundus grant and financial support by Europe. So it's part of this Erasmus Mundus program in LCT, and as receiving funds from Europe for offering this program of excellence. Now, let me start by giving an idea of what the program is about, what language technologies are. Nowadays, we are using these technologies actually in everyday life because we are using Google search, which indeed is based on the idea of getting linguistic keywords, linguistic queries, a language query, and retrieve documents. Because the software understands what the user is looking for. And there are more sophisticated tools nowadays like Google Translator, which translate one language into the other. And we all are experiencing how these software, these systems are improving and actually, I mean, are really reaching very good results nowadays. And now we are even experiencing software in our smartphones, which are able to to see an object and to give us, for instance, their name in a language we do not know. Even more nowadays, we are actually experiencing technologies which are not just on language, are language and communication, because we can interact with them through language. We can have a conversation with them, and so let's think of Alexa with a personal assistant that we can have at home to put us the music we like, to put up a timer, or add an item in the shopping list. And we are now making progress, and at the research level, we are all working on this idea of letting this system become more useful, even in more delicate and important aspects, moment of our life, for instance, as a personal assistant for health issues. And we can envision a situation in the near future in which we will have robots that can go in the endangered scene, endangered situation where it would be better humans not to go, and we can interact with this robot through language about the things that they see. So this is language and communication, and we can feel and see in our everyday life how they are entering, and they are more and more. So let's see what is behind the boom, this rapid boom of language and communication technologies. Well, they are part of another important, larger area that is artificial intelligence, that I'm sure you have all heard about by now. And the focus of the LCT, and the focus specifically of our program then, is to highlight the importance within artificial intelligence of also being aware, being knowledgeable about human intelligence, which after all is what artificial intelligence should model. And a core aspect of human intelligence is language, is the human language. Therefore, it's crucial to know how it works and its features, its characteristics. And what we also don't have to forget is that these systems are for humans. Therefore, this aspect should be taken into consideration when developing these systems. And so the interaction between human and these systems, we should receive an important role in these studies. And moreover, what we are now, another important aspect in the recent development of AI system is the fact that they are based on neural networks, artificial neural networks, which are inspired by human biological neural networks. And as such, this comparison, actually the original inspiration should be known and understood, and more can be done on the development of neural networks if the brain is taken into consideration, is understood, and connections are made more explicit. These methods these models are based on using machine learning methods through big data. And one important point is also that it's not a question only of quantity of data that should be considered, but also the quality of the data has to be taken into consideration more when training such models. With this idea in mind, with this background in mind, we prepare experts in aspects of language and human cognition that AI system could or should model. So in a way, we are preparing people which will be the AI enablers, people who will develop better training data for AI system, will evaluate AI system performance, will be good in designing AI systems that are more brain-like, and help AI system meet human needs. In order to do so, what we offer is a program that, as Manuela said, is centered on modeling language and cognition, and tackle these issues both by considering theoretical and computational approaches. Therefore, we offer in the program, there are compulsory courses on the foundation of cognitive psychology and neuroscience, and on introduction to human language. Moreover, there are also introductory courses to computational linguistics and to computational modeling of perceptions. And differently, I guess, from other courses where other programs where AI is offered or similar topic are offered, our master has the peculiarity of being addressed to also people who do not have a computer science background and are gently, therefore, introduced to this field. So we offer programming languages courses for beginners, like to enter in these, to learn, to start mastering these skills, as well as machine learning and specifically tailored for processing natural language. And we also have now advanced courses in both programming languages and machine learning. So as Manuela said, then on top of the compulsory courses, we have a variety of constrained or free choice courses, which will let the students specialize and dive into some more specific aspect, like some application of human language technologies, or understanding grounded language processing, understanding the comparison between artificial neural networks and biological neural networks, or connection between theory and computational approaches, always concerning language as a bridge between the two. And we not only teach statistical based method, but also symbolic ones based on logical approaches. As in the other track, as in the Siena tracks, an important attention is also put on teaching student experimental methods, because as they are crucial for the evaluation of these systems. So students are provided with skills and understanding knowledge in how to run and set up experiment, as well as are provided with the mathematical knowledge necessary for understanding this whole enterprise, and courses which will teach them how to run behavioral experiments concerning the issues that have been mentioned so far: language, the interaction with people, among people, reasoning, and so on, and much, much more that you can see through the courses on the website. Just to give you an idea of the kind of research topics that are currently run at CIMeC, I can mention a few, like this one on how much can language vary through the world, or how can a neural network system learn grammar like children do, or whether the system can perceive the world as humans do. And also, like an aspect, a crucial aspect in the communication, which is we do not only communicate, we understand what the other intend, what the other thinks, what the other wants. Like a theory of mind is crucial in our understanding of each other, and model currently fail this, and we are therefore investigating, studying how this can be, how models can be improved, enhanced by thanks to what we know and learn from cognitive science about how the mind works. To achieve these kind of goals, well, we use a variety of methods. A crucial aspect, in fact, as Manuela Piazza said before, is in our program is this this tendency of using methods from all disciplines. So we use machine learning methods, we use crowdsourcing method, we use counterexample or neuroimaging, all the methods that are at disposal to advance, make progress in this area. And we are able to do so and to teach our students to use this variety of methods, thanks to the fact that the lectures are have a very broad expertise. They're linguists, cognitive scientists, neuroscientists, and computer scientists, and so on. And thanks to this, like we help students reaching the crucial goals of understanding how to computationally model human skills related to language and perception, use such models to develop hypotheses about the way humans conceptualize the world, and integrate those models into the state of the art in artificial intelligence. Here I give you an idea of like the lectures. These are the lectures who will teach the core courses. And there are many that you will have the chance to meet according to which the specific path you will going through. But let me end with an even more important slide. They actually some cases, some example of alumni, people who studied with us and then decided to continue at university doing PhD at Harvard or in Australia, or are now already actually having assistant professorship position, for instance, in Kassan in Tilburg, or Barbara Planck, who is now a full professor in Copenhagen, and others who instead decided to go to companies like Roberto Desi, who did an industrial PhD in Facebook, or work at companies like Adam Liska at Spotify, Tran, who decided to actually open his own startup, going back to his own country in Vietnam, and is chair of this company, which actually now has become a rather important one and very big one there. So it's been rather successful. Or Lara Prishinvale, who went to work at Google. So this is an idea of like very successful students that our track has had contributed to prepare, and we are really proud of them and many, many others that have passed through in the last years.
Thank you very much, Raffaella. So now we have Uwe Meyer, who is the coordinator of the third track, Fundamental Behavior Neuroscience track, which is a completely new enterprise for us at CIMeC. So I am I'm very happy to introduce him. So Uwe, whenever you want, 10 minutes.
So yes, I'm Uwe Meyer. I'm going to introduce you this very new master track that we have recently created, and it's called Fundamental Behavioral Neuroscience. So what is it about? Typically, behavioral neuroscientists would study behavior on one side and brain on the other side, of course. This is how the title is also saying this. So you can manipulate the behavior and see what happens in the brain, or you can look what happens if there are some brain disorders or some brain functions are impaired, and to see how it has an effect on behavior. I think most people associate behavioral neuroscience with human research. However, if you look what neuroscientists are actually doing, here you can see what kind of species are studied by neuroscientists. This is not the most up-to-date data, but the picture didn't change much. And you can see that humans are actually not the ones that are studied most. What you can see here is the pages of published papers based on 10 randomly selected generally neuroscience journals. And you can see here different species. And as you can see that on the first, on top of it, we have rats and mice studied by neuroscientists. They are followed by humans. There are many other species. On the third, you even see that there are invertebrates. So here you might wonder, why do we need invertebrates to understand maybe human brain? And the answer for this is probably clearer if we zoom in a little bit in rats and mice. And this is the second slide. This is the number of mammals that is used in neuroscience based on data from 2009. This percentage of species, and each species is recorded in different color code. For instance, in orange here, you can see that these are the primates, and you can see that in the behavioral aspects, primates are represented very much, including humans. For those who didn't notice, they're also primates. However, if you go into invasive study, like such as neuroscience, you see that it starts to be immediately dominated by rats and mice. This is simply because humans are not a very good animal model. We cannot manipulate the genes of humans. There are a lot of ethical constraints, and it's very difficult to study with methods, the anatomy, and also any kind of disorders, which are mostly based in case studies. So animal models provide you a possibility to study fundamental aspects of neuroscience, and therefore they play a very important role. You can study the healthy animals if you want to understand what is normal. In order to understand what is a disorder, we also need to understand what is a normal functioning of the brain. We can also study just for the interest of how brains evolve, what is the driving factors, what is the limitations of different animals. by studying animals, we can also understand better the behavior of humans. And so there's quite a lot of interest in this kind of research. So this track is actually centered on animal neuroscience. And it is all about the question, what is the neural basis of sensory cognitive function in animals? We will introduce you to different animal models, including humans. And we will also introduce you to several methods that are used in modern neurosciences, such as behavioral training and testing of animals, immunohistochemical stainings. Here you can see on the right side, I don't know if you see my mouse, but you can see here calcium imaging of a glomerulus of a bee. So this is olfactory receptors, and here you can see a three-dimensional reconstruction of it. This is, for instance, a slice through hippocampus of a mouse with different cell populations that are stained. And here you can see single cell recordings. In fact, in animals, we can go with electrodes inside the brain and record action potentials directly on the run. Here you see also an MRI scan of a chicken brain. This is a three-dimensional representation of a so-called social behavior network, which is conserved in all vertebrates. So there are some aspects that we can study in animal models that are basically conserved in evolution in their functions and can be accessed also in other animals. So you will have the opportunity to get an overview of methods such as behavioral measurement and training of animals, conditioning, imprinting, neuroanatomical, histological preparation, single cell recordings, 2-photon calcium imaging, immunohistochemistry, molecular biology, genome editing, neurocellular cultures, and brain manipulation, and so on. The compulsory courses are centered around animal cognition. Here you can see that you will get 9 credits for animal cognition and neuroscience, and another 9 credits for brain development and disease, so animal models for the disease. This represents about 18 credits. You can then, you will also have to learn something about humans. So there are 6 credits for foundation of cognitive psychology and neuroscience. There are 6 credits for neural foundation of human behavior and also neurolinguistics. It is going to be mostly about language disorders and brain functions that process language. So if you look at it actually carefully, then you see that actually half of the program is giving you 18 credits to human research, and the other half is about animal research. The rest of the compulsory courses is computer programming based on MATLAB mostly, and research design using R. This is simply because with the new modern techniques, we acquire a lot of data. It doesn't matter if you study behavior of an animal, of a human, if you study brain functions, we have everywhere to deal with data. And these tools provide you a kind of universal approach that can be learned by everyone. It's kind of superficial programming to handle complicated data. And there's a lot of presets that can be used for statistical analysis or 3D imaging. And you will have the chance to get introduced into it so that you can keep up with most up-to-date approaches in behavioral neuroscience. Specialization, you have the possibility for constraint and free choice courses. They are kind of organized in 2 different clouds. So let's say you have this core knowledge now, and you would like now to specialize further onto animal brains and behavior. You can choose courses such as comparative neuroanatomy and evolution, cellular and molecular neuroscience, if you want to dive more into cellular neuroscience, and you can also dive into invertebrate neuroscience. On the other hand, you can say like, okay, now I know something about brain and behavior of animals, but I'm still very interested in human research. So you can choose from this option B, basically clinical neurology and neuropsychology, current topics and brain connectivity, and cognitive neuroscience of infant development. Last but not least, you have also free choice courses from other master tracks. This gives you the opportunity to individualize your specialization and to adjust it to your main interests, or to cover some, to intermix it in some way, for instance, to add more human oriented courses if you were specialized on animals or other way around. So it gives you a lot of opportunity to choose courses from other master tracks. You can even choose courses from any other master tracks in the university. And of course, like Manuela was pointing out in the beginning, you can also intermix basically all the 3 programs to some degree, and you can also, you will have the opportunity to visit lecture without any credits if you are interested in some topics. So yes, the students will learn from psychologists, cognitive neuroscientists, neurobiologists, physicists, and the goal is to gain excellent knowledge on neural underpinnings of basic sensory and cognitive functions in healthy animals and in animal models of clinical conditions. You will learn up-to-date methods used in modern behavioral neuroscience, including data recording and analysis. And like in all tracks, you will develop critical thinking and scientific communication skills, and you will become able to conceive original scientifically sound experiments. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ube. So I hope that by now you have a clearer overview of what we teach here and what the specificity and the commonality across the 3 tracks that we offer this year. I am pleased to introduce you to Roberto Bottini, a PI at CIMeC. He is responsible for the University of Trento Sisa Graduate Program in Cognitive Science. It's a very fantastic opportunity that if you want, you could try to apply when joining and enrolling in the master. And Roberto will tell you more about it right now.
Very good. So welcome to everyone.
All right, thank you, Manuela.
And I'm glad to introduce you to the UniTrento Sisa Graduate Program in Cognitive Science, which is done in collaboration with Sisa, which is the International School for Advanced Studies, which is located in Trieste in the north of Italy. So what's this graduate program about? It's a joint educational program within the master course in cognitive science, and is offered by CIMeC on one side and Sisa. Every year, 4 students of the master are selected to participate into this program, and the selection takes place at the end of the first semester of the first year. So the core idea of the program is to develop research project across the 2 centers, with the joint supervision of 1 principal investigator, 1 scientist at CIMeC, and 1 principal investigator at Sisa. The selected students, again 4 of them, will enjoy some economic benefits, and the program is structured as such that the first year is done here in Rovereto at CIMeC, and the second year in Sisa. So what happened in the first year at CIMeC, the student follows the exam and the courses as all the other master students. Then at the beginning of the first semester, there is a presentation of the joint program, so basically a longer version, a more detailed version of what I'm doing now. And at the end of the first semester, students can decide to apply for the scholarship and the position in this shared program. And shortly after, there will be the selection. And at the end of the first year, around May or June, the 4 selected students will do a lab tour in Sisa. In the last years, it had been a virtual or a hybrid. I hope then from next year, we will be back to do that in person. So we will go to Sisa together, and you will have the opportunity to meet the scientists there and to visit the lab and the structure. And then for the second year, so starting in September, late August, you will go to Sisa, which is a world-renowned research center in Italy, which provides complementary research facilities with respect to CIMeC and opportunities. And the program is established within the Cognitive Neuroscience department of Sisa, because there are other departments like physics and mathematics. Sisa is located in Trieste, as I was telling you, which is there, signed by the letter B here, so it's about 300 kilometers from Trento. And master students in their second year in Sisa, they will have the opportunity to follow courses there, Ph.D. level courses, and they will have to do their internship and thesis in Sisa, followed by a Sisa PI in collaboration with a CIMeC PI. Now, very quickly to conclude, there are different interesting labs in Sisa. So for instance, some tactile perception lab, which work with behavioral and electrophysiology in rodents. Visual Neuroscience Lab, PI in this case is Davide Zoccolan, and also the research methods are psychophysics, electrophysiology in rodents, and computational modeling. Alessandro Treves run a lab that's interested in memory and brain organization from the computational point of view. There is a social neuroscience lab, Neuroscience and Society Lab, led by Raffaella Rumiati, which uses human neuropsychology, neurophysiology, TMS, and neuroimaging. Reading language and abstract cognition lab, led by Davide Crepaldi, that uses, again, different methods from psychophysics to neuroimaging and computational models. And Domenica Bueti's lab, which is interested in time and temporal representation in the brain and uses neuroimaging facilities. If you have some questions or want more information, you can contact me at these emails, which is my name and my surname, roberto.bottini.bottini@unitn.it. And I leave you with a couple of web pages that you can check it out if you are if you want more information about the program and about Sisa. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Roberto. And then we move to Giuliano Iorilli, who is going to present us IIT, the Italian Institute of Technology, which is a great institution that is partly a neighbor to us, physically located in Rovereto, and with whom we have very nice relationships and collaborations. And so when you come here for a master, for the internship and thesis, you not only have the choice to work within a lab at CIMeC, but also to work together with the eyes at the IIT.
Okay, so thanks, Manuela, for the introduction. So my name is Giuliano Iorilli, and I am one of the principal investigators at the Italian Institute of Technology here in Rovereto. And in the next few slides, I'm going to be telling you a little bit more about our center here and generally what we do. So let me start with a few words about our institute. So we are the Istituto Italiano di Tecnologia, IIT for short. And you know, IIT is a national research institute that is composed of a network of research centers placed all throughout the country. Now, the main IIT headquarters is in Genova, while the rest of the centers are satellites all around Italy. And each of these satellite centers has a partnership with a host university in that location. And so in 2009, IIT started a partnership with the University of Trento to promote strong interactions and collaborations between IIT scientists and scientists of CIMeC. And so this is how the Center for Neuroscience and Cognitive System was born. Now, today, the Center for Neuroscience and Cognitive System has 4 main laboratories that operate at Palazzo Federigotti and in the lab space of the Manifattura. So we have the Laboratory of Human Behavior and Brain Stimulation that is directed by Lorella Patelli, the Laboratory of Autism and Neurodevelopmental Disorder that is directed by Mike Lombardo, the Laboratory of Functional Neuroimaging that is directed by Alessandro Rozzi, and then the Laboratory of Systems Neurobiology that is directed by myself. Let's go more into the specifics here. So Mike Lombardo directs the Laboratory of Autism and Neurodevelopmental Disorders, or LAND for shorts. And so people in his lab are basically interested in understanding how and why patients with autism differ into many types of autisms that can be distinguished based on genes, brain circuit architecture, and behavioral phenotype. And in the end, the ultimate goal of the Lombardo Lab is to make progress towards personalized medicine by isolating key mechanisms of clinical relevance that are applicable to patients at an individualized level. And here is one of recent works from this lab, where basically they examined the differences between toddlers with autism that have either poor or good early language development. And so you can see that these subtypes are not only behaviorally and developmentally distinct, but they are also underpinned by different neural circuitry for language and genomic mechanisms that go into facilitating the development of such circuitry. Then we have Alessandro Gozzi, who directs the Functional Neuroimaging Lab. And the main focus of this research line is to understand the functional organization of the mammalian brain at the level of the functional connectome. So in this lab, there are three major themes, three major questions, which are what are the fundamental rules and neural elements that govern brain-wide functional connectivity? What are the neural bases of functional disconnectivity in developmental disorders such as autism? And the third question is, can we translate functional connectivity alterations to physiologically interpreted signals? Now, the Gozzi Lab uses a diverse range of approaches from mouse and human neuroimaging to electrophysiology, opto and chemogenetics, and behavioral techniques to answer to those questions. And here is a good example of a theme of functional disconnectivity in autism. So remember that I said that autism can be split into many types of autisms. And here the Gozzi Lab tackles this problem by studying how the functional connectome is altered in many different types of genomic causes linked to autism, at least in mice. And as a prime example of that heterogeneity, you can see here a diverse range of abnormalities in the functional connectome linked to various types of genomic causes for autism in mouse. Well, and finally, there is my lab, the Sisa's Neurobiology Lab. So in my lab, we like to understand how the machine that is our brain is built inside. And specifically, we use all the available state-of-the-art techniques to discover how the brain regulates the function of the other body organs in order to support behavior and emotions. Because you can have the smartest brain in the world, but if your brain cannot regulate your heart, your stomach, your glands, you name it, then your behavior is going to be messed up and your life will be quite miserable. And so our ultimate goal is twofold. First, we want to offer to clinicians new entry points to cure the autonomic disturbances that often are associated with psychiatric diseases. And two, we want to offer to anesthesiologists, ER doctors, a rationale for their tests of autonomic responses when they have to assess the level of consciousness of a patient that has been anesthetized, for example, before a surgery. Okay, so if any of these can be of interest to you and you'd like to get involved, please don't hesitate to contact us to find out more about potential opportunities. And thanks for the attention.
Thank you, Giuliano. Of course, this will apply to you guys 1 year after you will have started, but it's always better to know what's ahead and what to decide how to dive in this complex offer that we are throwing at you right now, hopefully not overwhelming you too much. So now we have Francesco Pavani, whom I think is replacing Massimo Turatto, who is the coordinator of the PhD school, presenting you what do we do in our PhD school, who may be interesting for you later on after your master, or just because you may be here because you're interested to go straight in the PhD school. So Francesco, the floor is yours.
Okay, so I'm not Massimo Turatto, but I'm on behalf of Massimo Turatto presenting to you the doctoral program in Cognitive and Brain Sciences. My name is Francesco Pavani, and I served in this role for several years, and now I coordinate PhD programs for the University of Trento. So why doing a PhD in general and CIMeC in particular? As you may well know, the PhD, so a doctorate, is the highest level of education that can be achieved, also sometimes called the third level of education after the master. During a doctorate at CIMeC, you will be engaged in an integrated program of research, education, and professional development in various aspects. So there'll be several transversal skills that you will acquire during this path. And the general topic is cognitive science and neuroscience, as this is the topic that characterizes CIMeC, as you have heard so far. The aim when you enroll in a doctorate is, well, you start as a student and you aim to become a young scientist. And it's an important transition that you try to do here, because yes, you are still a student, you are still enrolled in the third level of education, but the overall aim you're trying to reach is to become an independent and researcher who can do highly qualified research. Now, you need a doctorate, and the first idea is you need a doctorate to access a career in academia. So access a career in the university, for instance, become a researcher in a university institution. But in fact, PhDs are becoming more and more a tool that society needs for its growth in general. So the perspective is to make more and more PhD permeate society, industry, education, all the various levels, including public administration. And in fact, that's a reality. If you enroll in a PhD, only a minority of the people who enroll in a PhD will then become university researchers. Many others will contribute in different aspects of society, and I think this is particularly important, and this will be recognized more and more. It's already recognized throughout Europe and in the world, and is becoming more and more recognized in Italy now with the new decree that regulates PhD programs. So when you think of enrolling in a PhD, think in a broader perspective than just academia. It's important. It's because PhD train you to become a researcher, to have independent critical thinking skills, which is something that is already promoted by the master, as you've seen. But here it's really something that you will work on, and you'll get a lot of valuable transversal skills for jobs outside academia. Now, if you enroll in a PhD at CIMeC, the topics are the topics that you've already heard about. So from cognitive neuroscience methods to neuroscientific investigation in various, in humans and other animals, on various aspects across the cycle of life, perception, attention. So many different aspects can be studied at CIMeC in a PhD project, including computational linguistics, computational neuroscience. So think broad, because the opportunity to develop your training during a PhD are quite open. When the call will come out, you will be able to see which of the research topics that I've listed here will be active during that year, because I mean, we try to focus on a subset of topics every year. So please do take your time to look at the call when you want to enroll in the PhD, to see which of these topics will be active during that year. So what happens next? Suppose that you are enrolled. You will be enrolled in a 4-year program. Many PhD programs last just 3 years. Here at CIMeC, we decided now some years ago that a 4-year program is probably more adequate to develop the skill you need to do research in this highly interdisciplinary domain that is cognitive neuroscience. And during the 4 years, a large part of your time will be devoted to running your research and learning to become a researcher. So you will be involved in interactions with your tutor, the lab in which you will be participating, and running your studies, presenting your research, talk about your ideas will be an essential part of what you will do. And a number of steps through the 4 years will basically monitor that you progress well with these activities. Of course, we also have compulsory training credits, and these are primarily related to aspects that you need to become a good researcher. That is, you should be able to manage and monitor your project. You should have a good grasp of the principles that regulate ethics and good practice when you do research. And we think it's compulsory also to participate in the life of your institution throughout your PhD. Finally, the electives, which will basically be present only in the first 2 years, are activities that you will need to support your research. And so developing your communication skills, learn how to run and program your studies, learn about methods, and achieve expertise in general. Now, because we know that people that enroll in PhD programs come from very different backgrounds, it's well possible that you have to tune these electives based on what you need. So you already had all your competencies acquired in psychology and you lack competencies on programming or other computational aspects. Well, that should be where your energy goes in terms of electives, or vice versa. You come from a background in which you have worked a lot on the computational aspect, but you know less about psychology, then you can train on that aspect. So in this sense, again, the main focus is on research, and these courses will serve the purpose to support your research skills. Again, what will you do? What will you gain? You will primarily focus on your own research project, of course, under the supervision of your 2 advisors. Now, the current regulation foresee that you will always have 2 advisors. And the way it's organized in the PhD program is that also a small scientific committee will follow you throughout the path, which is very good in our opinion, because it's basically train you to be able to present your result throughout your PhD career and discuss them. You will attend research seminars, lab meetings, journal clubs, including the activity that CIMeC organizes every year. Now, we have been very active in this, and COVID made it difficult, but this will surely come back, and in part will continue to exist in an online form in the meanwhile. As I said at the beginning, you will learn things that will potentially use also outside academia, and this will include transversal soft skills, highly technical skills, and you will surely learn about collaborating with other people. Part of the people that completed a PhD at CIMeC have continued in academia, and some of them didn't, because that's the way it goes. Not all the people that gain a PhD will then eventually continue their life in academia, but this does not mean they will not use their research skills. So as you can see here, alumni now work in several institutions, national and international institutions, but they also work in the private and public sector. So do keep an open mind about this, and do not consider it as a second choice, because you may actually discover that your talent is in bringing your research skills to the public and private sector, or it might be that your talent is precisely to become a university professor. So do keep an open mind about these perspectives. So the next call is the 38th cycle, and we'll start most likely the 1st of November 2022. We already know that there are 5 PhD fellowships fully financed by the University of Trento. More fellowships will most likely be financed by national and international grants. In the last couple of years, we often doubled the number of fellowships that we were opened every year. So do look for these additional fellowships too. The deadline for application is not defined yet, but typically it's going to be at the end of May. So I expect something similar, and the admission selection will be held in June. What else? I guess this may be more of a perspective view rather than an immediate need if you're still thinking about the master, but I still think it's quite useful to look ahead what can be your career if you enroll in a master at CIMeC. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much, Francesco. So if you guys are still with us, still awake and full of energy, as I hope, now it's the time for you hearing from your peers or just older ones, because we have decided to ask some of our master students, current master students from the second year, to just share with you their experience in a real quick glance. And so thanks to their availability, we have proposed 3 master students to speak. We've got Lea, that was enrolled in the CN track, Cognitive Neuroscience. We've got Ivan, who is enrolled in the CLC track, even though it was called differently last year. And then Vlad, because this is the first year, we have the Fundamental Behavioral Neuroscience track. We couldn't have any testimonial because it's a brand new offer that we have here, but Vlad has been working for his internship and thesis in the Laboratory of Neurophysiology and Animal Neuroscience, so he's going to share with you his experience there. So I'm going to ask Lea maybe to start, and then the 3 of you guys, you can go out one after each other. And also we have Noé, a PhD student, who also kindly agreed to give his point of view on his experience for the PhD. So the floor is yours, guys. Lea, if you want to go.
Here we go. Can you see?
Yeah, which link is that? I can't recognize it, my fault.
Sorry, which lake is that?
Yeah.
Lago di Tovel.
Ah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Lea. I'm currently in the second year of the Cognitive Neuroscience track of the Cognitive Science Masters here at Trento at CIMeC. And yeah, I will give you a few reasons of why I chose to be in this master's program, and maybe why you would like to also join us. And yeah, as Professor Piazza just pointed out, this is a very beautiful lake here in Trentino, not so far from where we live. And as a person who enjoys a lot the nature around here, I can say that it's quite stunning here. Like for me, it's really, yeah, it really adds to my lifestyle here, apart from being a student at CIMeC. Oh, can I? Okay, so let's start with year 1. I come from a background of experimental psychology. So let's say, luckily, I've already had a bit of overlap between my bachelor's background and the master's, but still, I think, well, I studied a lot in year 1. So it was a lot of big books, learning, taking notes, drinking lots of coffee. And a lot of exchange also with my peers. So we also studied a lot together, despite the various restrictions that we had in the lockdowns. Something that I would also recommend you to do, apart from studying, okay, is also take part in experiments. That really helps to get to know the field a little bit. These are actually old pictures. So I did this EG, which is the thing on the right where I have this cap on. I did this not here, but previously, but I find it really interesting. And it's nice to see how experiments are done also here, because then you can also get a bit of a glance of what we really do at CIMeC and what sort of research is out there. Also, maybe in the perspective of where you want to do your thesis, research, or your internship, or even a PhD afterwards, as we just heard. And yeah, I will be working on transcranial magnetic stimulation, which is one of the methods that we use in the research that we conduct here at CIMeC. And yeah, I will be also writing my thesis about this project, which will be very interesting, I think. Yes, so my tips for this master's is that you should not be scared to ask any questions. I really do not think there are stupid ones, and all of our professors are really really helpful and supportive and will never judge you for anything. And especially because we come from different backgrounds, it's important to clarify things, especially in the beginning. And like, as I said, you should talk to them, to the professors, because they're also just humans. They won't hurt you, and you can only really learn and probably hear very interesting things about what they do. And what you might be able to do when you conduct your own research. Also try something new. So I now at the moment, I am definitely using techniques that I've never done or hardly even heard of during my bachelor's. But it's very nice, it's challenging, and you really get to experiencing something new and interesting. And lastly, enjoy.
Okay, so Ivan?
Hi, yes, good afternoon. I'm sorry, I don't have slides, so you just have to settle for the sound of my voice. I am a second-year master's student on the CLC track. My background, before joining the program, I had an MA in linguistics, and I worked for several years in the language technology sector, doing data collection and analysis for language data collection and analysis for AI applications. And so my goal of entering the CLC program was to become a more technically oriented linguist. And looking at the changes to the program that are going to be implemented for next year, it seems like if that is your goal, if you're interested in language and linguistics and you want to build up those skills in language technology and how that applies to human cognition, it looks like the courses that are going to be offered next year are even better for that than when I entered. So I saw that in the video that was playing. One of the former students, Julia, said that she wishes that she could do the program again. I haven't even finished the program, and I also wish I could do it again. So the CLC track, it's kind of like a choose your own adventure in the best way. Because if you are more interested in language technology, you do have the option to take those elective courses from that speak to that. If you're more interested in psycholinguistics, those options are also available to you. There's also the opportunity to pursue your own independent research even before you get to the internship stage. So for example, one of the people in my cohort, Dota Dong, she worked on visually grounded question answering, and she presented on that this past summer. Marie Gian Gregorio, she was working on language resources for low resource Indian languages, and she was able to present on that with a PhD student from another center here at the university. And then myself and two other people in my cohort, Veronica Mangiatera and Beatrice Turano, taking inspiration from Professor Bernardi's class, we presented on computational approaches to false friend similarity in Italian and English. And we just found out this week, and it's kind of cool, that our paper on that was selected as one of the best from the conference, and we're being invited to publish in Springer's lecture notes in computer science. So that was kind of a fun little pick-me-up this week. And then when you do get to the internship, there's a wide variety of things that you can do. Again, Beatrice Turano is working at FBK on automatic humor detection. I'm working with one of Professor Bernardi's postdocs on cross-lingual preposition use in grounded domains. You have Kostas Papadopoulos at the University of Utrecht, who's working on vocal learning of zebra finches and the similarities with human language. Melissa Donati at the University of Osnabrück. She's developing a web app for students who need help planning their everyday lives to make it easier to work collaboratively in remote learning environments. And Sasha Kanjeva, who's at the Language Learning Reading Lab at Sisa, and she's studying how blind and sighted individuals process abstract words and whether semantic diversity has an effect on the ease of processing. And so I mention all of these people's names and what they're doing because I really want to emphasize to you that the CLC track is a really, really close and tight-knit community. I think we're the smaller one here, so we do have an opportunity to get to know each other a little bit more. And being here in Rovereto, we meet up for hikes, we have dinners at each other's flats, picnics, film nights, gardening clubs, reading groups, study groups, book clubs, holiday celebrations, cooking competitions, concerts and bike rides. We've gone on trips to Venice, Bolzano, Bologna, and Treviso together. It's just a really great community outside of your life as a student. So I highly encourage you to apply if that's something that you're interested in, and I look forward.
Thank you, Evan. That was fantastic. Very good. So who do we have now? Vlad, where's Vlad? Oh, it's in front of me. Okay.
Here I am. I actually am from the same track as Leah, which is cognitive neuroscience, and the fundamental behavioral neuroscience track, which is the one I'm being testimonial for, doesn't exist yet. But unfortunately, the way in which I choose to structure my courses and my internship and thesis is very in line with what that track would be. So I'll talk a bit about that. Basically, as Professor Meyer mentioned previously, there will be many courses which are focused on basic neuroscience, but also like molecular and animal models, because we are working mainly with animal models here. And it's a very hands-on experience. In fact, I'm in the lab right now. And for example, just to like express how normal day in the lab is for me, it's very dynamic. I have to like interact with animals, perform like anesthesia. I do, for example, invasive electrophysiology. So it's like single cell recording. So it's like a bit of neurosurgery. Oh, it's not. It's a bit of neurosurgery and data analysis. I can also like spend some time in the histology lab and take some brain slices, stain them. So it's very nice and dynamic because you can pass from data analysis to getting brain slices, looking at neurons at the microscope. It's very fun. I really wasn't expecting this to be this fun, but yeah. So I think that the new track next year will be like this. So if you're like me, you'll like it a lot. And Rovereto, as Evan said, it's a really nice place. The community is really tight. So you can spend your days in the lab, your evenings with your friends, your nights in the bar or sleeping, whatever you want. And then you start again. And I really love this.
Thank you, Vlad. So we have heard a voice from each of the 3 tracks, we have a PhD student whose name I would never learn in these 3 years you have been here. Most of the time I call you Noe. I know it's not your name, but it's the only thing I can pronounce out of your name. So please go ahead, and thank you for accepting, giving your feedback here at this open day.
So hello everybody, and good afternoon, but I'm actually now not in Italy. I'm in Tehran, in my hometown. My correct name pronunciation is Shahriar No-E, but I will not bother you with that. So as I've been told, I'm speaking mostly towards people who want to join the master students in CIMeC. So as Manuela briefly mentioned, I'm a last year PhD student. I'm a computational neuroscientist, so I'm not gonna bore you with the details of what I do here, which is mostly staying behind the computer and coding. So what I want to tell you is about how I got introduced to CIMeC and a little bit of life in CIMeC, so that you have a perspective of what you're gonna face. So if I want to be 100% honest, I was not aware of CIMeC existence. I got introduced to CIMeC because, as Giuliano mentioned, so I am joined between IIT and CIMeC, and in the Neural Computation Lab, which unfortunately or fortunately doesn't exist anymore. So I got introduced to my PI through there, and then he mentioned that they have, they take PhD students from Unity and Track at CIMeC. So I joined here. So life in CIMeC and experience it has, as always, its ups and downs. CIMeC has a lovely environment. I mean, it's not the biggest center out there, of course, but then it being not so big creates a good opportunity to meet people and form like a small family relation with everybody. And one of the good things of these small, not so big centers in a small towns is that you get to know to what other people do. There is a lot of diversity in people work, and you get to know people. And as a result of that, everybody is so kind with each other, which is a good, hospitable environment. As about the life in Trento, Rovereto, or for the people who want to spend 1 year here and 1 year in Trieste, I would say Trentino is a beautiful place. But aside from that, it has a high life quality. Indeed, if you search quality of lives in cities in Italy and rank them, you usually find Trento and Trieste among the top 5. So this is one other thing you can take into the account, is that the quality of life here is high. And yes, it's not the biggest places on earth again, but it has the benefits of being small. So unfortunately, since it's already 6:30 in Iran, I will probably not be able to participate in the Gather Town after this. But had you have any question, feel free to write me. My email is, as you can see my name in the list of the Zoom, it's shahriar.noe at both iit.it or at unitn.it. So I hope, I'm sure many of you will join CIMeC. Unfortunately, since this is my last year, I might not be able to see you joining the CIMeC community, but I wish you good luck for those of you who will join. And I strongly advise you to take this opportunity, especially for master's students, to join CIMeC. Thank you very much.